Then they also used human urine, and after done using the same process of machinery and all, absolutely not, because these are considered extremely dangerous and completely forbidden, and no one would do it for you. And saying try to learn how to do it and find somebody to do it for you is also unrealistic. I want to stay realistic for the vast majority of realistic people. We have a realistic amount of time to devote to that, and a realistic amount of money. But it will still be more or less accurate. And at least the hat itself, the way she makes it, sew it. If she uses the machine for better sewing and all, just tell her not to. She will obey you, I'm sure. It will probably cost a bit more and take a bit more time. If you want a specific style she does not propose, discuss it with her. Obviously it is better if you go to England, if you live in England, or if you can see her and she can actually measure you with the conformator. So instead of doing it yourself, you don't even have a conformator. Why would you buy a conformator and then measure yourself? It becomes more complicated. She knows how to use the conformator better than you. She probably has a better working one. A conformator in itself is very rare to find and costs even thousands on eBay, or at least hundreds, and then you need to get it shipped where you are. I mean, why do that? Just go to her, even if you live in Dubai. If you are English or Turkish or whatever and you want her to do it, just go to her even for a weekend, just for her to discuss it with her. Maybe you purchase the specific fur you wanted her to use, the specific trimmings. And the guy, his name is Charles Wolfblad, from A Guide to Buying a Top Hat. He explains where to get the precise material of the ribbon used, the trimmings, manufactured in exactly the same manner, in exactly the same silk. It comes from Japan and has a specific number. I forgot about it, but read it on his page, Repelling Top Hats, or I think it was, yes, Repelling Top Hats, something like that. He explains it. It should still be available, so you can purchase it online, have it in many different colors. So if you want a brown one, a black one, whatever, and you send it to her, or you get it shipped directly to her, or maybe she already has it, or maybe she can order it for you. I believe it's safer if you order it yourself, so you have more control and you are sure she's not confusing the number. Because, for example, if she has them in Japan, they tell them they barely speak English, and then to tell you, no, actually you order it from a British company, but they pass through Japan, and they tell you, no, but we already have that number, it is similar. If you are calling, you know that they are trying to scam you, and maybe she will let herself be scammed, but you can tell them, no, blast you, I came to you because I want that silk specifically, it comes from Japan, so order that even if I have to pay more. So it is better if you order it yourself, and then instead of having it shipped to your address in England or your address in Australia, for all I care, have it shipped to her address, and then explain to her like beforehand, the trimmings, do not use yours, use the ones being shipped. And that is the thing. So I explained about footwear, about clothing, including the overcoat, and scarves and whatever accessories one may desire, and I had to explain about gloves, and now the hat, and now it seems done, except for a very important thing, the cane or umbrella or riding crop or whatever. And I will only say that, why bother yourself trying to have it accurate, which can never be 100% accurate, and spending more money making it or whatever, when you can use an original? Even if you are 2 meters tall and you cannot find an original cane that fits you, at least bring it to, there are many, at least in Europe, people left to repair and even make canes. Ask him to extend it. It is very easy to extend a cane. To take out the tip fellow at the tip of it, to take it out, unscrew it or whatever, add a piece of wood, ideally a similar wood, try to paint it the same color, treat it the same manner. If it has a carving, maybe carve it into the same thing. It shall still cost less than having a raw bespoke made cane, which is the only way to get it accurate and upper class like, and then to put back the fellow and it extends your cane. Except if you are very huge, you do not care if the cane is not the exact right size. That's the reason for which the only things that will be passed down will be watches and monocles and canes, because even if a cane made to measure, for me, has to be exactly like that, let's say. If I pass it on to my son and to him, which is there, it is still alright, one can still use it. The only time it becomes a real inconvenience is not valid for the style, but more if you actually need it, if you have a limp or you are an old man. But apart from that, you do not even need bother extending it. It might just damage it for nothing. Except if you are 2 meters tall and humongous. But even if you are 190 meters tall, I'm sure you will find something more or less the right size. It will just look a bit small on you. You would sort of do that. Same thing for the umbrella or a parasol. A parasol is only for the sun, so it should be short anyhow. So for these, except if you are 2 meters tall, and even then you use an original and extend it. just bring it to somebody, they will extend it. I forgot what I called in English. I think I called umbrella repair tabs, or a can, in French I call it canotier. Not to be confused with the word I kept confusing, but canotier. A canotier is a straw porter in French. A canotier, because can is a cane, same word, different accent. Cantier is the man repairing or making cans and umbrellas. I forgot the name in English. It has a name. Research it. And even if you live like in Turkey and Greece, I'm sure they have those people over there. Because you don't want him to make a full accurate can, you just want him to extend it. And obviously extend it from the bottom. But he would tell you, I think it is better to extend it from the bottom, because usually the can goes like that, like it narrows down to the bottom. And if you damage the bottom whilst in the process, or if the fellow is a scam and makes crap of it, it will show less than the top, because people concentrate obviously on the top of the cane, including you. For the watches and the chains, and or if you want a fob like me, I wear a fob instead of a chain, or monocle, or no, monocle might have to be custom made. Any glassman, what's it called, like spectacles fella, they can normally make one, or jeweler, especially ones and doing antiques. And normally if you buy an antique, that is what I'm going to try once I get back to France, which seems to be never, but once I get back there, I have an antique monocle which is too large with the galleries, but it is too large. And I'm lucky to, not far from my place, 10 minutes by bus, literally the bus is next door to my place in France, and 10 minutes by bus there is a chap, I know him well, he repairs, he's an expert at clock, watches and all. He has watches that are almost 200 years old. And he told me I can repair it for you. Because it is massive gold, all I need to do is cut it, add a piece of gold, and then, you know, with that thing, he fixes it to the frame. And then he can fix me a new lens, translucent lens, because obviously the old lens would be too large for it. So it will, and you can do that. Buy a massive gold, like solid gold or solid silver, not plated, or worse, celluloid, whatever. And then Harper classes would have had either solid silver or solid gold monocles, spectacles, whatever. And then have a fellow like him arrange it, either make it larger or smaller. It is actually much easier making it smaller, like I do, because then it does not actually have to add a piece. This was wrong. He does not add a piece. He simply cuts it. He removes a small piece. We are talking millimeters. When I was talking millimeters there, and then he fixes it together again with a new lens. So do that for the monocle. Do not get a completely custom-made monocle. It will cost way more and be less accurate. Also for the lens, whether you have an actual eye problem like Aaron, or just wanted for the style like me, get a glass lens. It is more dangerous, but it is the only accurate lens. People should agree for that. And then the chain or the lanyard, you can easily find originals, and your height, weight does not affect their wearing. Same thing for the watch, the fob, watch chain, watch gird, some people call it, or whatever. Or rings. Well, rings are hard to get, especially for modern fingers. You might want it custom made if you want rings. There is a whole ring industry, and I think it is easier to get historically accurate jewelry than it is other things, because people are still into the handmaking thing. But it might not be that easy. I don't even know about jewelry. You can also extend, take it to a proper jeweler so you don't mess it up. You can actually make rings larger or narrow them down, like for the monocle. Maybe even the chap who does my monocle could do that. I don't have any rings I want him to do, but I'm sure he could do that. So ask people like him. And then that is it. That is a lot of talking, by Jove. To recap, is it going to be as accurate as original pieces? Realistically speaking, as per how I explained it, no. But it will be 90% accurate. Basically, the whole cut will be accurate. And anything from buttons, like all the buttons, you can find them. You can find original buttons, even the covered ones. So especially if you go for the standard clothing, which was dark, you can easily find well-conserved original 19th century or very early 20th century, I can already tell the difference. Silk-covered, silk-embroidered covered buttons that are dark, because most clothing was dark then, so because the ones that survive are dark, and then you just find those instead of asking the tailor to make them and sew them on. Shed buttons are even easier to find. Shed styles are very easy to find, even the luxurious ones simply cost more. Look on eBay and Etsy for all those things. But for the cloth itself, it will not be accurate simply because it will never be well dyed the samala, and to some extent not even treated the samala